Hi everyone. Welcome back after the break. This is the weekly politics show with me, Councillor Puru, and co-host Councillor Andrew Wood. So, in this section, we're going to talk about the call-in. So, we just got confirmation just before 5 that the council has accepted 2 call-ins. Questioning, calling in the decisions made by the mayor at cabinet. One is the Bow a livable street scheme or low traffic neighborhood known throughout London, and the other one is the closure of the daycare centers. So a call-in is a process where, as part of the scrutiny process of council decisions, any decisions made by the mayor and his cabinet can be reviewed or can be called in by 5 councillors signing a document saying this is a decision, they disagree with it, stating the reasons and stating the alternative proposals. And then that goes to a special meeting of overview and scrutiny, where the scrutiny councillors would hear the case by the petitioners, the 5 councillors or their selected spokesperson, to put the case why the decision should be reconsidered. Then a lead member or the mayor himself would come and give their point of view. And then they will have a discussion and vote on whether they call in the decision. And if the vote is that they call in the decision, what that means is overview and scrutiny say they disagree with the decision made by the mayor and his cabinet, and then send it back to him to reconsider. So that's the bare bones of the process. Now, Andrew, you sit on overview and scrutiny as a committee member. Do you want to add anything else to what I've given as a basic 101 and then go into the subject matter of the call-in? So one of them is where both me and you are the petitioners, and then the other one is other councillors who are petitioning on the daycare centres. So is there anything else you want to add before going into the subject matter?
Yeah, so just, I mean, in summary, it's just basically we're asking the mayor to have a think again. We can't force him to change his mind, or cabinet, because in this case, cabinet did vote for it. But I think it is useful, especially on the detail, that sometimes when you look at the detail, you can kind of get people to change their minds on things. But the track record of call-ins hasn't been great. Most of them have not made any sort of formal changes. But we'll see. And what is unusual is that there were 2 separate call-ins, one of which we were both aware of because we were involved in it, but the other one I wasn't aware of until we got the email this afternoon. So that's basically the outcome of the consultation on the revised approach to day support and adult social care, which means basically Tower Hamlets Council were proposing to cut or close a number of daycare centres. So, for example, Riverside House on the Isle of Dogs and some others as well, and to change the arrangements. And there were some recommendations that were made in the cabinet last week. And you have 5 working days after the end of after the cabinet decisions are made to do the call-in. So obviously some councillors are concerned about that, and so was I, to be honest. But we kind of thought it was a done deal and we couldn't do anything about it. But obviously other councillors disagree with that and think that a call-in may have some impact. And then the second one is, as we were just saying, was... would like to talk. Let me get rid of that. Hold on, let me just get rid of my Alexa. So the second one was the Bow Bus Gateway. I just received an email just before the meeting started where there's some questions for us about it. So the council haven't formally accepted our call-in yet, and we've got until Monday to just answer some questions that they have asked. So that's kind of hot off the press.
Okay. Can you go into the do you want to go into the details of that, or you don't want to go?
Well, so the problem with livable streets has kind of gone through various sort of phases, shall we say, and at each sort of phase there have been changes. So what happened last year? So there was a cabinet meeting where the Bow livable streets first went to cabinet. I think it was November of last year. And there was lots of discussion and debate, and the mayor sort of said that he wanted more time to think about it. And what therefore happened is that they went away and thought about it, and they made a number of quite big changes to the Bow livable street scheme, which is one that was then announced last week. And what the council are now sort of saying is you're kind of you're raising issues about what happened last November and what happened last week, but you're only allowed to ask about what happened last Wednesday, and what's the link of the issues that you're raising. And part of the problem is that, you know, the mayor said he wanted to have a rethink last November, but we didn't know exactly what he was going to do. Yeah. He just sort of said he was going to go away and have a think about it. And he came back with some things that we had been concerned about. So the equality impact assessment was rewritten, also allowing carers through bus gates, blue badge holders through bus gates, GPs, Royal Mail delivery vehicles, and taxi card holders. So there were lots of improvements, but there were still issues missing. And I think one of the key issues is that, you know, they rewrote the equality impact assessment, and some of the things that we are raising are actually about that rewrite of the equality impact assessment. So I think it's slightly unfair for the council to kind of ask us to kind of go back to last November, because last November the mayor clearly indicated that he was not going to change anything. That he was going to make changes, even though at that point it was unclear. So
my understanding is that it's like it's like a planning one. You have an outline planning decision, and then you agree the details of it.
Yeah. So so just I'm slightly distracted tonight because there was a serious stabbing in my ward about.
Well, it's one big planning application.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean that's the argument I think we'll make back to the council, is that this is a bit of a moving target, and you know, just because some bits were agreed last November doesn't mean we can't go back, because the mayor himself, he was going to make changes, but he didn't say what changes. So I suspect there were 4 issues that we raised in the call-in. So kind of one was to kind of do with a financial issue, which is kind of a bit of a hobby horse for us on the Isle of Dogs, about how we're paying for it. But one of the really interesting things that were found out is that these bus gates generate a lot of money for the council. So, for example, a Wapping bus gate, even though it only operates a few hours each day, has generated about £1.3 million since December 2019. Because even though it cuts down traffic dramatically, even if you have, you know, one vehicle go through every 3 or 4 minutes, every time a vehicle that drives through that shouldn't do, that's £65 to the council. And even if you deduct the cost of the camera and the cost of administration, it's very clear that bus gates are generating a lot of money. And then there were other issues that we raised, and perhaps you should talk about your part of it.
Yeah, so I've basically raised, it's sort of like, the issue is that when the decisions are made about these low traffic neighborhoods or livable street schemes, they just look at the area within the zone, but they don't actually look at the impact of it. And these schemes are designed to move traffic out of these areas and onto other roads. And the issue is that if we're going to make a decision, we need to look at the impact as a whole on the residents. And historically, and even now in Tower Hamlets, and this is throughout London as well, is that what tends to happen is poorer neighborhoods tend to be on the busy roads, and that's a historic issue, and that's fed through. So a lot of our council estates are on actual busy roads. So if you go down from the Bow flyover to down Bow Road, Mile End Road, and Whitechapel, and you just basically go down that road, you see at either end of that road it's dotted with social housing estates after social housing estates. And what the Bow Liveable Street scheme is going to do is displace about 16,000 car journeys on a daily basis onto that road, especially between the Bow flyover and Mile End Tube Station. And there's been no consideration about that. And the council can do things. They could put up more trees on that road to disperse the air pollution, or put up a vertical gardens, or if necessary, put up air filters, etc. But there needs to be some kind in homes, etc. Because there needs to be some kind of consideration, because we know that air pollution is quite damaging. It damages people's organs, their respiratory system. It basically lowers your life expectation. Children are born with smaller lungs. So the the fundamental issue is, yes, we want clean air, but we want it to be distributed on an equitable basis. It's not, you can't have clean air for, say, some areas and push all the pollution to, say, areas where the residents are of a much more lower income category, etc., who are not as eloquent as well. And we need to have much more think about clean air justice for all. I know there's like a Twitter handle out there. There was a girl who passed away in South London from air pollution, asthmatic, and a lot of her friends and family group believe that it's because of traffic displacement. And so more and more people are talking about it, that yes, we want low clean air, but we want clean air for everyone, not just people, for everyone, and that includes people who live on these busy roads as well. And we need to have a holistic solution to that. So that's the basic argument. I think everybody wants clean air, everybody wants low traffic, but we want to do it on an equitable basis, not just create even more pockets of deprivation, but this time environmental deprivation. And that's the basic argument.
Yeah. So just the last issue in our call-in was about emergency vehicle access, because some freedom of information requests that we found make it very clear that the emergency services support in principle livable streets and making streets safer, but they do have concerns about how you do that and the physical roadblocks which prevent them getting through, which is a major issue for ambulances because of how they operate. So we're basically kind of asking that rather than just blocking off roads completely, that you put in gates that the emergency services can still operate. And we also need to sort of see what they said about livable streets. So just because we found it on the FOI, we should be reading that information in the council report as well.
So do you know the timing of the meeting before we go to the break? What time? It'd be on the council website.
So next Thursday at 6:30 is what they've set aside.
So hopefully, once we sort out the technical issues of our call-in, listeners could log into the council website 6:30, and you could listen to both call-ins and look at the decision, and we'll feedback at next week's show as a result of that. Now we're going to go to a break. After the break, we're going to just Andrew and I